So tonight again, we'll be talking about healthy eating. My name is Jody Drange, and I am your presenter as well as your moderator for tonight. I am a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, and an exercise physiologist. I've been with the company for 4 years. I've been a dietitian since 2007, working in a different array of environments when it comes to nutrition, and then I currently live out here in Chandler, Arizona. So we are still a little bit warmer than normal and hoping to cool off soon for it to actually feel like the holidays. Just a couple housekeeping things. Over on the right-hand side of your screen is where you'll see your controls for tonight. And there is a box that you should see, and it says questions. At any time throughout the presentation, if you have a question, please go ahead and feel free to put that into the box. And then at the very end, we have left some time for a question and answer. So I will make sure that I get to those questions at the very end of the conversation. So let's go ahead and get started for tonight. So just as a little disclaimer, all of our materials are provided for your information only and may not be construed as medical advice or instruction. No action or inaction should be taken based solely on the contents of this presentation. And program attendees should always consult the appropriate health professionals in any matter related to their health. So our objectives tonight, what we're going to learn is how to understand healthier eating through the holidays and how that can help with weight management, how to apply the knowledge of healthy holiday options to make good food choices through the season, to work with your individual needs, and then lastly, learning how to fit exercise into your busy schedule. So again, everybody is unique with our own set of nutritional and exercise needs, and there is no one size fits all, but tonight we do have some things that are a little bit specific maybe to your needs, and some things might be a little bit more generalized. But again, if you have specific questions, put those in the comments. If I can't get to them tonight, we will definitely be in contact and to get your questions answered. All right, so let's talk about healthier eating. So this time of the year, between Halloween and the Super Bowl, and sometimes that gets extended to Valentine's Day and then into Easter, but there are a ton of celebrations during this time with special foods and lots of gatherings, and so sometimes it can be a very difficult time of the year. So what we want to first talk about is that a calorie. So a calorie is not a calorie, and that's because a calorie is a unit of measure of the amount of energy that it gives us. And so calories from carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are all used as well as stored differently based on our metabolic genetics. So everybody's a little bit different, and this is kind of where we said that it's not necessarily a one size fits all, and that you might have different needs than somebody else in the call. But again, we'll try to kind of hit on general topics, and then again, if you need more specifics, we can always get into that. All right, so what does a healthy plate look like? So here at True Health Diagnostics, we use this plate planner is what we call it. And so I'm just going to kind of go around the circle and kind of tell you what these different colors mean and what those foods are. So we're going to start on the right-hand side of the circle or the plate, and that's going to be in the green section. So this green section is what we call non-starchy vegetables. So typically very low calorie, very low carbohydrate, and these are the ones that we typically want you always to eat more of. As a dietitian, we're always saying eat more vegetables, eat more vegetables. So around the Thanksgiving table, this could be green beans, ideally without the cream of mushroom soup, asparagus, the salad made with dark greens, maybe some kales in there, sometimes cooked greens, cauliflower, carrot, celery, cherry tomatoes. This might be more of an appetizer, and then some Brussels sprouts. I feel like those are gaining popularity. On the other side of the plate, in the yellow section on the top right, we have the carbohydrates. And so for most people, this is really what we're wanting to try to be more moderate or to limit a little bit more. And so around the Thanksgiving or holiday table, again, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, dinner rolls, pasta, stuffing, cranberry sauce, that's all going to fall into this category. And then down here in the blue section, or kind of purplish blue, we have the protein section, and that could be anything being served from turkey to ham, chicken, beef tenderloin, pork tenderloin, fish, whatever that might be for your family. And so what we want to do and how we use this is, again, trying to limit our portions a little bit more by trying to get 50% of our plate to be non-starchy vegetables, the other half of the plate split into another quarter, so we have some carbohydrate, about 25% of the plate, and then some protein, about 25% of the plate again. And then in the middle here, kind of in this brownish color, is where we have healthy fats, so that would be like organic grass-fed butter, extra virgin olive oil, possibly a natural peanut butter, those types of things. All right, so challenges. So again, this is a very challenging time of the year. Holiday meals and gatherings are generally times that we let those healthy eating habits kind of go out the door. We have, really special family recipes that are made from scratch. We increase the variety or the variation of foods that we consume at this time of year, just kind of like we do on vacations. And then foods that are brought in by others, sometimes we're not sure how they're prepared, including foods from restaurants, and even gaining more popularity as some supermarkets are actually providing everything for a Thanksgiving meal, from the turkey to the sides to the dessert. So again, not all foods are made from scratch, and that also changes the quality of the food. So what are appropriate food changes you can make if you're required to do a low or reduced carbohydrate diet, or possibly even a low-fat diet? So this first slide here shows us what the typical American meal looks like for a holiday. So we have meat, we have stuffing, we have 2 types of potato, gravy, we have the cranberry sauce, the rolls, the pie, not even just 1 piece, but typically 2, as well as some type of drink that contains calories, whether that's cider, wine, sweet tea, whatever that might be. And so at the end of the day, what this really gives us is about 3,700 calories. If any of you on the call today count calories or are aware of, I'm sorry, not count calories, but count carbohydrates, you know that 348 grams of carbohydrate is a lot for just 1 meal, let alone a day. And then we also have high fat at 90 grams of fat. So the one thing to remember is that this does not include calories for appetizers, drinks, snacks, other meals that you have during the day. And so what we did on the next 2 slides is just modify them to be a little bit more reasonable. So this one is a reduced carbohydrate holiday meal. If you have been told that you're insulin resistant, prediabetes, diabetic, what we want to do is kind of tone things down a little bit, decrease those options so that we still have turkey, we have a smaller amount of stuffing, kind of nix the potatoes, but we went with steamed green vegetables and carrots. Again, that good non-starchy vegetable. We still have the relish. We went for a unsweet tea that had sweetened then with stevia, so a non-calorie sweetener. And then for dessert, we actually went for a cheesecake with a dollop of whipped cream because it's less in carbohydrates than a pumpkin pie. And so at the end of this meal, still probably kind of on the higher end for some people, but it's down to 47 grams of carbohydrate. So we can still enjoy that holiday meal, but again, trying to make it more moderate. And then if you're on a reduced fat meal plan or recommendation, so here we did the stuffing. It's made a little bit different with chicken broth. So again, kind of cutting the fat. We still have the mashed potatoes with cream and butter, cranberry sauce, and unsweetened beverage, and then we still have those steamed vegetables, and then we finish up with a pumpkin pie, because again, this one's going to be less fat than the cheesecake. So this will give us that 28 grams of fat for the day. All right, so make a holiday meal plan that's right for you. So these are some general eating tips. So number one, we want you to eat evenly spaced throughout the day. So, if you do have any blood sugar issues, this is very important so that we don't have high highs and low lows. We want well-balanced meals, and that's where we talked about that plate planner in the very beginning. And the reason we want well-balanced and evenly spaced is because we want to avoid becoming overly hungry. Because when that happens, then we tend not to kind of give reason to what we eat. We just kind of, eat what's in front of us, or we eat really fast and then tend to overeat. The second one here is to drink water as well as non-sugary beverages, some non-caloric beverages. Slow down, really savor these family favorites, put your fork down between bites. Next one is to pair up with another healthy eater because we tend to eat very similar to those around us. So if there is somebody who's a very healthy eater in the family, go through the line with them, sit next to them at the table because then your plate will be more like their plate versus if we sit to somebody who tends to maybe overeat. If they're heaping their plate, we'll tend to heap our plate. So again, just something to be aware in regards to your environment, or if you're at a party and somebody's having another, high calorie holiday drink, and we'll kind of talk about those later. It's easier to say yes to do that versus somebody who passes just to have water and you're like, no, I don't need one either. So definitely look for that kind of healthy partner through the holidays. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to eat less earlier in the day to save room for that overindulgent meal. Again, because we just get overly hungry and then we eat way too much and again become uncomfortable. And this is where we end up laying on the couch instead of continuing to be able to enjoy family and maybe get outside with the kids or play some games in those things. And then we don't want to eat processed or packaged foods. They have many hidden ingredients. So again, as much as home cooking as you can do is going to be the best. So make a holiday meal plan. So these again are some tips around any family gatherings, work gatherings, church gatherings. But first and foremost, you want to try to walk away from the food tables. When we tend to have conversation around food, we tend to just kind of keep picking at food, not really realizing how much we've had. And sometimes that can lead to us actually feeling full before the holiday meal gets on the table, and then all of a sudden we feel like, oh gosh, well these are my favorite foods, so I keep eating, and again just kind of the overeating and uncomfortableness for the day. The suggestion is to survey your options and then be really selective. So I tell my patients a lot around Christmas time, if there's lots of cookies and fudge and things that are brought into the office, to really kind of scan it, see, what coworker made that fantastic fudge, and go for that fantastic fudge and have a piece versus kind of wasting your time on some of those other things, and you're like, oh, the cookie it was only okay, but I kind of felt bad that I didn't want to throw it away, so I ate it. And then we're just kind of eating because we feel like we need to versus it actually being good. So again, really survey your options, be selective. Choose the right plate. So if there's appetizers out, again, choose a little appetizer plate, fill that up, walk away from that part of the room. If it's at dinner time, they might set out some kid plates and then some adult plates. But if you have like old dishes, those are actually more of the appropriate size. If you think about the flimsy paper plates that you need like 10 of them to not have your food kind of leak through them, that's actually the right size of plate. So when we have a smaller plate, it just takes less to fill it up and therefore we eat less. So that's always an option too to consider. And that can be something year round, that maybe I purchase a couple extra plates that are the right size to help me control my portions. So reduce or eliminate second helpings. It takes time for your stomach to signal up to your brain that you're full. So if you're feeling like you're wanting a little bit more, encourage you to wait that 30 minutes. And if you feel like you still want some after 30 minutes, go ahead and go back for that second. Otherwise, just tell them that you want to take some home and get some of that put into a container for you to take home and maybe enjoy the second day. Use the 2 tablespoon rule. So this is where you kind of take all of your goodies, but you only take 2 tablespoons of everything. So it allows you to try everything without feeling overly full, or again, having maybe high carb or high fat, depending on the foods you're choosing, plates. But again, so 2 tablespoons gives you a couple bites of everything and allows you again to enjoy everything. So put down your fork in between bites. We talked about that in the last slide, taking drinks of water. All of those things, again, just help you to slow down and really be mindful of the foods that your family or that you, if you're the cook, have made, and to really enjoy it, because it might be that you really only get these foods once to twice a year. So again, slow down, enjoy it. For desserts, cutting a smaller slice or sharing with somebody, those are great options. And then lastly, we just want you to remember that conversation has no calories. So whether you're around family or friends for the holidays, you really want to take that time to maybe slow down a little bit, get to reacquainted with some of the relatives maybe that you haven't seen for a while, friends that have been really busy, in the last month that you haven't seen much. Really take that time to sit down, and conversation, again, has no calories, and holidays are really about connecting. So let's make a healthy cooking plan. So first off, just want to go over these cooking methods. So baking, broiling, sauteing, stir frying, those are all great options if you're the cook, whether it's for the holidays or year round. The one thing that we want to try to avoid is deep frying, where your whole food, whether that's meat, some type of meat that's being fried, or it's a vegetable, or a starch, deep frying it. We definitely want to avoid that as much as we can throughout the year, let alone at the holidays. So lots of different options to maybe try if you haven't. So for example, even like Brussels sprouts, we made them on the stove. They seem to get a little, for our taste, it was a little bit mushy, versus when we roasted it, it got kind of crunchy, and that's what we really found that we liked. So again, if there's other foods, throughout the year, try them in different ways, because you might actually enjoy them, or maybe your family will enjoy them if they're cooked in a little bit different way. So for the main entree, you ideally could buy something local, so visiting local farmers to pick a fresh turkey, because we know that turkeys in the store sometimes have been pumped full of high fat and sodium solutions. So definitely be reading your labels to make sure that you're getting a good quality turkey. If you have a ham, ideally a fresh ham rather than country or city hams, because those are those packets where they have the glaze and added sugar that comes with it. Your tenderloins are going to be pretty simple, but again, having your own marinade at home can help you to decrease the sodium. So try stuffing your turkey with citrus fruits such as oranges, grapefruits, lemons, limes. Those will actually help to seal in the juices and keep your meat nice and tender versus drying out. So what about for side dishes? So for side dishes, we want to focus on lower starch containing vegetables. So again, trying to find foods that we can make on that right-hand side of the plate in the green section. So very popular are autumn vegetables. So roasting vegetables is something people are really liking to do. So you can do that with cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. You can roast that with bacon, onion, garlic. All of those types of foods. There's lots of recipes out there for you. Consider a garden salad with some dark leafy greens. We just recently went to, we call it Friendsgiving, because it was just friends, because we don't have family here. And somebody even made like a warm salad with greens, and it had like nuts and scallops and craisins, and it had like a very light dressing on it, but it was warm, and that was a nice change versus something that maybe, again, we do the rest of the year. And so for gravy, add chopped or shredded mushrooms. And then again, the more color that you can get on your plate, the better. On to dessert, sometimes our favorite part of the meal. So if dessert is still calling your name, ideally we would like to have a real pumpkin pie, so maybe made from scratch versus maybe Costco. Cheesecake has lower carbohydrates, so if you're somebody who needs to watch carbohydrates, that might be the better option. And for those pecan pie lovers out there, that's probably one of the highest added sugar, highest calorie pies out there. So if that is your favorite, definitely watch that portion size. If eggnog is one of your favorite meals, this is something that we might consider more of a dessert. And we will address holiday drinks a little bit later, and that might kind of clarify why we would consider it a dessert rather than a drink. And then lastly, if you are the cook, cutting your sugar intake or in the recipe by a third can actually help to reduce the amount of added sugar in your cooking. So next we want to talk about food safety. This is really important. We want all of our guests to come and go home and feel great and nobody to get sick. So be sure that you're cooking your meat and your poultry to the correct temperatures, keeping foods hot, while they're being served, making sure that you refrigerate your leftovers quickly to avoid any bacteria growth, washing fruits and vegetables, preventing cross-contamination by using separate cutting boards. And then again, after 3 to 4 days, so really by the following Monday, we probably should have all of those leftovers gone, or we should be probably tossing them. If you put them in the freezer like the turkey, that can last anywhere from 3 to 4 months. So that's a great option. And you can find this at the USDA.gov. So and sometimes this is just on your thermometer that you have at home, it'll give you all of the temperatures for poultry versus fish versus ground meat. So you can reference those as well. So overcoming holiday hurdles. So let's talk about first at home. So first off, it might be that there's just too many treats. So whether that's you make a lot of treats around the holidays or you receive a lot of treats around the holidays. Somebody brought them home from work, it was a gift, there's a cookie exchange, in a social setting or in a family, again, or maybe you make, 5 different cookies at Christmas time. And so one thing I usually encourage my patients to do is some people are ready to just kind of cut back because it's a lot of work. So maybe they'll only make 2 types of cookies instead of 5. Other times, instead of making them right after Thanksgiving, they'll actually wait till it's closer to Christmas, so there's not cookies around the house for 3 weeks, but maybe only for kind of that week leading up to Christmas or to a cookie exchange. So multiple food-focused gatherings. So again, being aware of that, those portions and what our health goals are going into those meals. Interrupted exercise routines because we tend to get very busy. Food gifts or dining out because we're getting busy, increased stress level around the holidays as well, can lead to possibly emotional eating, as far as comfort or if there's any issues in the family. Sometimes, again, that stress increases and that can lead to the emotional eating. So if you find yourself eating and not feeling hungry, again, just kind of taking a look at, why am I eating right now? Am I happy, sad, glad, mad? All of those types of things can be tied into your eating. So again, just to be aware of those behaviors. So then what about at work? So there's employee treat jars. I feel like these are typically around all the year with bite-size candies. But again, this can just be increased around the holidays. Food gifts, at doctor's offices, I know they get a lot of treats brought in from patients, to companies wanting to show their employees, that they appreciate them and they'll bring in food. So that employee break room can be one of the most difficult spots to go into. So I definitely encourage you to bring your lunch with you to avoid the break room treats. Out here in Arizona, it's finally getting nice so we can sit outside for lunch. So if you're in an area of the country where that's an option, I would definitely encourage you to do that. Again, the busyness, sometimes the year end can be very busy. And then multiple staff parties, again, kind of one after another, and happy hour and those types of things are definitely options that you have. So again, the one thing that I've really found for my patients is that when we start to think ahead about the holiday season and what that typically looks like for us, so when do the food issues come in? Is that just on Thanksgiving and Christmas? Is it that I start to eat out more? Is it that I have cookie exchange 2 weekends in December? And really try to take a look at those options and plan ahead that what will be my game plan going into that. And we might not always meet it 100%, but it definitely allows us to do a better job than if we go in with no plan. So definitely thinking about those, talking through them. If you feel like you need a little extra support, tell a friend, tell a family member so that they can, again, just kind of help support you in those moments. And so lots of times there's food pushers, and sometimes this is all done out of love, that people show their love through food by making lots of food and then watching people eat them. And so if it's a small portion, they want you to take a bigger portion. And so a couple of things that we can say, number one is, I'll try it in a bit, and then maybe don't, because at that point they might have walked away. So that might have worked better at like a work potluck. I've already tried some and it's delicious. Not that I'm encouraging you to lie, but to kind of diffuse the situation. Thanks, but I'm really working to stick to my eating plan. You can definitely say that. I'm sorry, but I've just never liked Brussels sprouts, for example, or a certain ingredient, and that kind of helps you kind of diffuse that, as well as avoiding alcoholic drinks by being the designated driver. So again, those are just some options. And typically, again, if you're kind of more direct with the food pushers, they're going to understand why you made the decision maybe to not eat or to only eat a little bit of it, and they'll kind of back off. All right, so make a plan for parties. So what can you bring to the table? So literally, what can you bring to the table? So here are some good suggestions. So cucumber slices with a homemade crab dip, caprese salad kebabs that you see here in the picture. I think these are fantastic. They look great. They look like Christmas, and they taste good. Brussels sprouts, again, if you like those roasted, sugar snap peas with roasted eggplant dip. So lots of options that don't require potato chips, pita chips, and all of those kind of high carb foods. So definitely some options. You can look up on Pinterest, search on Google to find some great options, again, that fit your dietary needs. So first off, we're going to talk about water, because dehydration can cause a lot of issues such as fatigue, headache, muscle weakness, dizziness, constipation, all things that make us not feel very good during the holidays. So if you tend to not be a very good water drinker, or sometimes you get sick of water, on the right-hand side of the the slide here, we have about how to pair fruits and herbs together in order to make your water taste better. And this could even be some options that you make in a large craft for your guests, because number one, it looks really pretty, but then it also gives them kind of a little bit different flavor. So raspberries and basil, blueberry and lemon, watermelon and mint, lemon and ginger. A lot of people like that combination outside of just lemon, limes, and oranges, which again, something simple as that can definitely help you to drink more water without any added sugars and without any added artificial sweeteners. So we want to drink up our 8 to 10 cups of water every day. So ideally the minimum, the 64 ounces, but you can definitely do more than that. But again, at least those 8 to 10 glasses. So next on to alcohol. So this slide's in here just to let you know what is considered to be a serving of alcohol. So for wine, it's just 5 ounces. It's not the big cup completely full. And then with spirits or hard alcohol, it's just 1.5 fluid ounce the shot. Again, so watching that. For men, they say no more than 2 drinks per day, and for women, they say no more than 1 drink per day. And if you're doing any of the distilled spirits, definitely watching what you're mixing that with, because that's where, again, you can get a lot of added sugar in. So next here we have holiday drinks, and these are kind of the more decadent ones. So very popular right now is the pumpkin spice latte. Coming right behind it in probably a week and a half is that peppermint mocha frappuccino. And you can just see that the calories are very high, let alone the sugars are very high. And this is for a medium drink. So you can always decrease that by getting the small, but again, the sugar is very high. But if we take a look at no sugar added hot chocolate or the apple cider, those are much more carb controlled and maybe be better options. And then looking here on the left-hand side, all the way down in the corner, we have that eggnog. So this is store-bought, only 8 ounces of eggnog, and it's 460 calories and 46 grams of carbohydrate, most of that, again, being sugar. So again, kind of meal time calories for most of us, again, with a lot of sugar. So, you know, maybe skipping the pumpkin pie if you like eggnog to kind of balance those out, or past the, you know, Thanksgiving holiday, at holiday parties, just being very mindful of maybe how much this is. And again, if we add alcohol, we're just kind of adding more calories to it. All right, so next we want to fit in exercise, because exercise recommendations are not just for 11 months of the year, they're for even during the holiday season. But first and foremost, just a quick safety tip here: prior to starting an exercise program, please consult with your physician to make sure that you are healthy enough to begin exercising. So yes, even during the holidays. So these recommendations here are set by the American Heart Association. So for most people, moderate intensity activity 5 days a week for 30 minutes, or the total of 150 minutes a week. So if you need to break that down into 3 days, you know, for 50 minutes, you can definitely do that. If you are a more vigorous exerciser, then you can cut that down to 75 minutes per week, and that could be 3 sessions of 25. So that might be, you know, a couple mile run or something like that. And so when we talk about moderate exercise, you shouldn't be able to carry on a conversation with the person next to you if you're walking with a significant other or a spouse. But if you're walking between 5 to 6, 7 words, you're going to need to take a breath. And at that rate, then you know that you're moving at that moderate intensity. If you continue to carry on a conversation pretty easily, it's kind of window shopping, walking, and we really should pick up the pace and be very intentful with the time that we set aside to exercise. And so they also recommend to do some strength training at least 2 days a week. You know, and again, some of these we might hit the goals during the holidays, and we might come a little bit short. But the one thing that I would encourage you, if you are an exerciser, is to say, gosh, even during the busy weeks, I'm going to make sure that I maintain at least 3 days a week. Normally, I'm a 5-day-a-week exerciser, but I'm going to try to do at least 3 days, because when January comes, it's easier to go from 3 days back up to 5 versus from 0 days back up to 5. It's a little harder to get started. If you're not an exerciser, even 10 minutes a day of walking can be beneficial. We would ideally like you to do a little bit more as you can tolerate, but just again, starting to walk even after a mealtime helps to regulate your blood sugars better. And then if you do have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, just an average of 40 minutes of moderate or to vigorous intensity aerobic exercise 3 to 4 times a week can help to lower those too. So if you have blood work coming up in January, great time to be exercising on a regular basis, let alone to make sure that you're maintaining your weight at least through the holidays. And so technology can be very helpful in this because you can set alarms, you can get a workout of the day, you can take your phone with you or your iPad, and you can do your workouts anywhere. So if you're traveling, you can bring it with you, or if you're at home and now you need to work out at home versus going to the gym just to save on some time, again, you have lots of different options. So some apps that are out there that I really like is the Nike Training Club. It's free and it has workouts anywhere from 15 to, I believe, 45 minutes. There's typically no weights included on those. There are maybe like a medicine ball, but that's an app that I typically use when I'm traveling, and I can do that workout in a hotel room. Even just to get my heart rate up, even if I don't have that medicine ball. So that's a great one. It shows you breaks down all of the exercises. So if you're not familiar with a lot of them, they will definitely be able to walk you through that. Workout Trainer by Skimble, that's another free one. Again, it has beginner, intermediate, advanced levels on there. And again, 15 to about 45, maybe 60-minute workouts on there. Wearable technology, very popular. A lot of people ask for these for Christmas, but this will be like your Jawbone, your Fitbit, your Garmin. There's a Nike one. I'm trying to remember if there's like a Nike Plus or Nike Go, Nike Pro maybe. But a lot of those wearable technologies, and I find that my patients, the ones that they pick is because of what they're looking for. Are they looking just for kind of a pedometer? Are they looking for something to manage, see their sleep patterns? Do they want it to connect to their phone and be able to input their food in that program? And so there's lots of different options out there for that wearable technology, let alone the Apple phones and the Apple Watches and the Android watches are doing a lot of that technology as well. And so videos, YouTube channels, there's a lot of them out there. If you type in, 30-minute workout, you're going to get a lot of different options that you could do at home. And lastly, positive and inspirational imagery can be really powerful. I know for myself on Pinterest, I have a motivational page or board, I should say, that I'm pinning to, and sometimes I need to go back and look there to, again, kind of remotivate myself, like, yes, I'm doing this. This is why I need to continue this throughout the holidays. And lastly, we want you to make exercise fun. So for me, one of the main things that we do on Thanksgiving Day is that we do a turkey trot. And so it used to just be me and my husband starting, but over the last couple years, we've been able to get some friends to kind of come along with us. So I think this year there's going to be about 5 or 6 of us that are running. And that's just a great time in the morning, fun exercise, lots of people around. And then we can kind of go home and just feel like we can kind of really relax for the day. But there's lots of runs and walks in your area. You just have to maybe look a little bit for them. Groupon always seems to have them in my area. And so they're year-round, and then they just have themes kind of throughout the year. So there's a city down here that does a 12K, and it's like 12 Ks of Christmas. So again, they get kind of fun and people dress up for them. If running is not your thing or you don't want to pay that admission fee, walking around the neighborhood, down to the park with family or friends, organizing a game of touch football, or even playing tag with the kiddos, having a gourd hunt. I thought this was kind of interesting. So kind of like an Easter egg hunt, but something for the kids to, again, get outside and have fun with it. They're always so excited when they find something new. Or possibly even get moving indoors with the gaming system if you got a lot of snow in your area or it's just too cold to be outside. So maybe even setting up a tournament, like tennis, or there's like jousting ones. or even like little running ones that you can do. But get the whole family involved, get the kids involved, and make the day more about, again, kind of the activity and the making the memories versus just the food. And so this is the time that we've left open for some questions. So if you do have questions, I would just encourage you again to put those in the question box, and I will go through those. All right, and I'm just looking through one of the questions here. 1 second. Okay, so the question, excuse me, was how can we alter one pot recipes to increase the non-starchy vegetables over carbohydrates? So example of peppers versus spaghetti noodles, and then figuring out the calories for that modification. So if you're somebody who watches the calories, one of the, I guess probably two, but I'll tell you the number one program that most of my patients use is called MyFitnessPal. And so you can actually go in there and create your own recipe, and it will give you the breakdown of all of the nutrition information. So that might be one way to go about it. So as far as cutting down on the carbohydrates, usually a substitution for spaghetti noodles tends to be like a spaghetti squash, because for 1 cup of spaghetti noodles, it is 45 grams of carbohydrate, but for 3/4 of a cup of spaghetti squash, it's only 15 grams of carbohydrate. And the calories are significantly less also, and they're low fat. So that's a very good option. Sometimes, I know my husband and I, we grew up in the Midwest, so a lot of rice and potatoes and noodles and things like that. And so we made one of our dishes, and we just actually eliminated the rice completely, or the noodles, and just did more vegetables, did a little bit more meat, and lots of vegetables, and found that, gosh, this tastes like that comfort food of home, but we know that it's a much better option for us and for what our health goals are. Other things would be to search on the internet to see if there's anybody who's already modified that recipe. And some of those cooks are now providing the nutritional information for it. So it might actually have the breakdown of the carbohydrates, the calories, and those types of things. So those would be my suggestions as far as if you're wanting to count calories, how you can kind of break that down a little bit. But typically for, if it's going to be kind of a big dish, usually I tell people try to double as many vegetables as the recipe calls for. You might need to add a little bit more liquid, but if you do that, then you're guaranteed, again, that you have a good helping of vegetables for your serving that you're going to put on your plate. And another question was about using butternut squash. It's a great opportunity to use one of the winter squash while it's in season, such as like pumpkin, butternut squash, spaghetti squash that we talked about. And those are great substitutions for potatoes if you want to, but they are considered to be your starchy vegetables. So if you are watching your carbohydrates, that would still be something that you would want to keep you around, like, half to maybe 3/4 cup, or 2 tablespoons if you're doing your 2 tablespoon kind of rule. So as I just give a little bit more time here to see if there's any additional questions, I'm just going to quickly go to this next slide here. So we want to be your resource for all health-related topics. So you can definitely follow us on social media and connect with us. We're on Twitter at True Health Diag. We are on Facebook. If you type in True Health Diagnostics, we should come right up. As well as we do have a blog. And so if you go to our nice new website at TrueHealth, diag.com, you should be able to link to our blog right from there, so that would be easy access. And if you haven't created your patient portal, you definitely should. There's lots of information coming in the patient portal for you to utilize. Our next presentation is going to be on Tuesday, December 6th, and that one is going to be our last one of the year, and it's on tackling tobacco. It's going to be at noon Eastern time, again on Tuesday, December 6th. So if you know anybody who is possibly wanting to quit soon or maybe at the first of the year, this would be a good presentation for them to attend. And again, they are completely free. You just need to sign up for that. And then lastly, if you are looking for something that's a little bit more individualized, we definitely encourage you to sign up to be paired with a clinical health consultant, which is what I am. So most of us are registered dietitians. We have some nurses. We have some exercise people on staff, exercise physiologists. And to make that appointment, we just encourage you to call client services. And if you look in the chat box, the client services phone number is there, but it's 877-443-5227. Again, 877-443-5227. All right, and it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. I definitely appreciate your time and your attention for tonight. If you do have any other questions, I'm happy to hang out here for a couple minutes. But otherwise, if you don't have any questions, you are free to go for tonight, and we hope that you have a great holiday season and that you'll join us for another presentation in the future. So again, thank you for your time. Have a great night.